Hey folks, welcome to the Registrars Podcast, Coach's Corner. The goal for Coach's Corner is to help mechanics and service leaders like you from every angle that I can think of that isn't technical, come up with and utilize skills, tactics, and knowledge I've found, acquired, or utilized over the last 20 years in automotive. On today's very interesting episode, because it's probably the third iteration therein, we're going to talk about your phone. Let's get into it. So your phone, you got to use it. Well, you think you got to use it. You want to use it. You'd like to use it. You like to have it in your hand. You like to hold on to it. Some of us understand the sensation of wanting to touch it all the time. But it's causing you all kinds of issues. Let's put things into perspective. During coaching calls, and if you've been listening to Coach's Corner over the last many weeks, months even, it's kind of cool to say, I've been talking about journaling, writing things down, learning time management, figuring out your steps between the steps, and wasted time. Well, during coaching sessions, one-on-one, with some technicians over the last year and change, one of the things that regularly pops up is time management, and more specifically, wasted time. Very few folks can be genuinely honest about the things they're wasting time on. I consistently mock the technician who likes to go up front and talk to the service receptionist for far too long. Because it happens. I've seen it happen. I've worked in dealerships and body shops where I've seen it happen. Well, now that phones have become significantly more prevalent than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago, the phone can be where you can find the proverbial service receptionist that's occupying your time, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, or any other of the social media apps. If you're honest with yourself, how much are you using your phone? If you don't know how much you're using your phone, there are lots of applications that you can look into having on your phone to track what you're using throughout the day. But what it doesn't necessarily do is tell you when you used that application. It only tells you certainly how much you used that application. Well, statistically speaking, all of you are using your phone every day because you should be using it for your MPI when you go to walk around the vehicle and show the required repairs of the vehicle, the recommended repairs of the vehicle, showing that video and having a nice cadence so that the customer understands exactly what it is that you're recommending and exactly what it is that you're requiring. But then you find yourself later on the day, oh, I only used TikTok a couple times this day, or oh, I only used the camera a couple times today. And then it adds up and it adds up, but you don't think about it and how much time it actually adds up. So 3 of my coachees, and I think there's got to be a better word for that. There's got to be a better word for people that are being coached, because they're not on my team. Like, I guess they proverbially are. They're on the team that I am coaching, proverbially, but they're individuals. The folks that truly do journaling, writing all the things down they do in the day, down to the minutes that they're using them, and they truly assess themselves and what they're doing. 3 of them in the last 6 months have found that they were on their phone, genuinely, outside of break time, for about 45 minutes a day. Now, I had a similar conversation with a service leader recently, talking about phone time and how much he absolutely hates when his technicians are on their phone. But he does get the fact that he can't always determine when they're on their break time and when they're on the lunch time, because many of them sit at their benches to eat their lunch, which is both good and bad depending on the person. And that's save that for a completely different episode. But spending time on your phone during the day, on social media, or talking to your wife or to your husband or talking to your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your children. There is a time and place for all of that. And if you aren't looking at how much time you are spending, you need to start. So there are little things that you can do. So this is where the whiteboard comes back into play, and we're going to talk about the whiteboard. I want you to take this with a grain of salt. So if you're journaling, awesome. Making sure you're writing it down. Make sure you're writing it down. It's important for you to write it down. But if you're not journaling and you want to do something even more simple for yourself, this is where the whiteboard comes in. Your phone. Get out the whiteboard, put it on the back of your bench or on the back of your toolbox, and every time you pick up your phone, put a counter on the whiteboard. Okay? Every time, it doesn't matter how long you use it for, just every time you pick up your phone, doesn't matter whether it's a video MPI or not. Every time you pick up your phone, I want you to put a counter on the whiteboard. And I want you to do that every day for 5 days. And at the end of the day, and at the end of each of those 5 days, I want you to write down a number of the counter and count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The number down at the bottom. Whiteboard clean and start the next day. So you've got, by the end of the 5 days, you're going to have 5 numbers at the bottom of the whiteboard. And every day, you're going to see how many times you pick up your phone. And the following week, I want you to try and beat those numbers in the reverse. I don't want to see the numbers go higher. I want to see the numbers go lower. Okay? Just counter the number of times you pick your phone up in a day. I want to get it to the point where the number of times is the amount of times that you do a video MPI, your break, and your lunch. Because realistically speaking, that's the only times that you should be picking up your phone. So if you do 6 cars in a day, every single one of them should get a video MPI, period, end of chat. Now, quick segue. If your store is not doing video MPIs, you should be learning how to do video MPIs on every car, period. It is an exceptionally valuable skill because you learn how to speak, you learn how to identify clearly, and you learn a Murphy's Law. One of the Murphy's Law is, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. So, by constantly doing the same thing over and over again, you learn how to get very good at it. The video MPI is incredibly valuable because it does many things, not just help the customer understand. If you can learn how to simply explain to a customer what something is going on with the vehicle, it also means you can simply explain to a service advisor. You can simply explain to the warranty administrator. You can simply explain to a service manager or a fixed ops director. You can simply explain to somebody on the phone, should you level yourself up down the road as an auditor for a brand, as a traveling field technician that has to be out on the road, as all kinds of things. So that video MPI is not just the ability to sell to a customer. It does many more things than that. So back to topic. Video, if you're doing 6 cars a day, video MPI of that, so 6. Your lunch, your breaks, so 9 times. Let's go and let's do a quick history lesson. 25 years ago, there was no such thing as cell phones. And it's not even that long ago. I believe it was 2007 when Steve Jobs unveiled the very first iPhone. So we're 16 years ago. There wasn't even, before 17 years ago, there wasn't an iPhone. If your spouse, if your children, if your family, if your friends need to get in touch with you while you are at work, it should be emergent only or cannot be avoided. And if they need to get in touch with you, the shop has a telephone number. It's that simple. And if you find that they're calling you constantly because they're not getting through to your cell phone because you're not picking it up, you need to learn some boundaries and you need to teach them what those boundaries are. That's a topic for a completely different episode. Put down the phone unless it's break, lunch, break, video MPIs. Now, so let's go back to the goal. Let's reiterate and summarize here. Very simply. Very, 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 very simply. Okay? Counter. This is simple. Counter. Every time you pick up your phone, put a counter on the whiteboard. 1, 2, 3, 4, swish. That's 5. Every time you pick up your phone. And you have to be honest about it. You have to be genuinely honest about it, because the only person you're going to hurt by not doing it properly is yourself. You want to succeed, you want to be more productive, do this. If you're not going to journal, that's fine. But at least start with this, because your phone is literally preventing you from making money. Okay? So counter. 1, 2, 3, 4, swoosh. At the end of the day, tally up all this 1, 2, 3, 4 swooshes. Put the number at the bottom. Wipe the slate clean for the rest of it. Do it for 5 days. Then come Monday next, or whichever day you start the week, look at the bottom. Okay, I picked up my phone 45 times on Monday last week. Let's try and beat that. Let's see 44 or 43. I'm not asking for miracles here, folks. I'm not asking you to go from 45 down to 20 or 5. I'm asking for baby steps. Maybe 1 or 2 times a day less per day. Incrementally. It's the little steps, folks. That's why I say it's the steps between the steps. The little baby steps. And I know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, because I have 3 coachees that did this very thing, and it's the only thing they did. The only thing they did for me. Because then when they realized they could do this, they could start applying it to other things. So they did it with their phone. And over the period of 90 days, all 3 of them got roughly the same result. They improved their productivity 10%. 10%. When it's 10 hours a day, you get an extra hour a day, 5 hours a week. One of them was $30 an hour. It's $150 at $600 a month. They were losing $600 a month simply by picking up their phone. Think about that for a second, folks. That's $7,000 a year. Okay? Now you might be a little bit different. You might be $18 an hour. You might be $20 an hour, $25 an hour, $30 an hour, $35 an hour. You might not see 10%. You might see more. You might be one of those individuals. That pick it up too often. There are those of you out there, and you know who you are. And this is a very good exercise for you. And if you happen to be a service leader listening to this right now, you know who those people are. This is a great tool, a very simple, very inexpensive tool to give your entire team. Give them whiteboards. You can find whiteboards at the dollar store, the Dollarama, the Dollar Tree. They're like $1.50. They come with a grease marker. Give them each one. They can use the counter method for anything. Anything, any bad habit. And you don't expect massive changes instantaneously. But it's super simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, swoosh. Put a number at the bottom for the day. Do it for 5 days, and then the following week, beat the number. You can apply that to phone usage. You can apply that to bathroom usage. You can apply that number of times they go to the parts department. You can apply that to the number of times they go to the service drive. You can pick a bad habit. Smoking. How many times do I go out for a smoke break? Oh, I only go out a few times a day. It's like, well, in theory, here, ladies and gentlemen, you have X amount of time per day for break time. Okay? Every time you go out for a smoke break is X amount of time. So if you go out 12 times a day for a smoke, and it's 3 minutes of smoke, that's 36 minutes. Technically, in that particular business, if they had a 2 15-minute break rule, that's more time. Means you're technically 6 minutes over. So you're hurting yourself because you're not being productive for those 6 minutes. And you're technically hurting the business because you're not being productive for those 6 minutes. Now, am I being a bit pedantic about 6 minutes? I am. You are correct. I am being a bit pedantic about 6 minutes. But for those of you who are looking down at their paychecks every week, every bi-week, every pay half, every month, and going, this isn't enough. I wish this was more. I want to get paid more. I want to be more productive. How do I make more hours? 6 minutes is no longer pedantic, especially when it's 6 minutes a day, every week, every month, all year. So, habits. If you've got bad habits, like your phone, get a whiteboard with a grease marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, swoosh. Counter. Beat the swooshes the following week. Thank you for listening to another Coach's Corner on the Wrench Turners podcast. I appreciate all of you for listening and watching. All of you. I just can't thank you enough this week. We rolled 3,000 listens on Spotify. It's 3,000. It's 3,000 listens across all of the streaming platforms because it goes from one to many. But I appreciate all of the listens. I appreciate the sharing that you guys and you girls are doing. I really appreciate it. The ratings, you guys are starting to put ratings. If you have an opportunity, please go on to Spotify and rate the show. I don't care if it's a 1. I don't care if it's a 5. I care very much that you're doing it because I really appreciate the feedback. Any little tidbit that you can give me feedback, if you want to reach out to me on Spotify or you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I would really appreciate it. Give me any feedback you possibly can about Coach's Corner, about 10 mil, about the one-to-one interviews on the Wrench Turners podcast itself, the Mechanic Minutes, any feedback. I would love to hear it. Every little bit helps. If I can improve the show so that it's more tactical, more agile for you folks, I want to do it. This is here for you guys to be happier, healthier, and more productive on the shop floor. Thank you. And remember, folks, negative pushes, positive pulls, and always clean your toys before you put them away.